Winter just flipped a massive switch across America, and what I'm about to reveal at the 2-minute mark about the 101-mile-per-hour wind gust will make you question everything you thought you knew about December weather. But first, you need to understand why the next 72 hours could redefine this entire winter season. It's December 9th, and 4 catastrophic weather events are converging on the United States simultaneously. A potent winter storm is carving through the heartland with a trifecta of deadly hazards. A dangerous Arctic blast is preparing to deliver life-threatening cold this weekend. The West Coast is being battered by a historic atmospheric river that's already forcing water rescues. And a geomagnetic storm is about to hit Earth. This isn't just active weather. This is a complete pattern flip. Here's the number that should terrify you. -50-degree wind chills are coming to the Midwest. Actual temperatures of -24 degrees. That's not a forecast error. That's reality arriving Sunday morning. And at the 14-minute mark, I'm going to show you the temperature map that proves winter has completely taken over the eastern United States with no end in sight. But stay with me, because at the 5-minute mark, I promised you the exact timeline of this quick-hitting dangerous winter storm. And I'm going to deliver on that promise right now with hour-by-hour details that could save your life. Let's start with what's happening at this very moment across the upper Midwest. We're not dealing with a typical winter storm here. We're dealing with a trifecta of dangerous hazards. Freezing rain, heavy snow, and strong winds. All 3 happening at once. All 3 creating life-threatening conditions. The experimental winter storm's outlook is highlighting a large, slight-risk area that includes Grand Forks and Fargo, all the way down to Green Bay. We're talking about North Dakota, down to Wisconsin through Minnesota. This is going to be a quick-hitting and dangerous winter storm. And the key word there is quick-hitting, because this system is moving fast, dangerously fast. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. This storm doesn't stop at the upper Midwest. Tomorrow, it moves east and southeast. Another large slight-risk area covers Michigan all the way over into the interior northeast. We're talking about Utica, Albany, all the way up into Maine under a slight risk of significant winter weather impacts today and tomorrow. Now let me walk you through this hour by hour, because with a fast-moving storm like this, timing is everything. Miss the timing by 30 minutes, and you could find yourself stranded on a highway in whiteout conditions. Noon today, Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Rain is switching over to snow in Fargo and Grand Forks, and if you look at the radar right now, you see all that pink and orange stuff in the middle. That's not rain. That's sleet and freezing rain. And we've got a decent icing potential with this storm that we need to keep in mind. Here's the specific danger. Some places are going to end up with a 1/4 inch of ice. A 1/4 inch might not sound like much, but let me tell you what a 1/4 inch of ice does. It makes roads completely impassable. It brings down tree branches. It snaps power lines. We're looking at very slick travel, and maybe even some power outages intermittently. And remember, along with the ice and snow, we're going to have very strong winds as well. 5 p.m. this afternoon, here's when things get really dangerous. A big, heavy burst of snow moves into Minneapolis and Duluth. And remember what I said about this storm moving really fast. It's not that it's going to be snowing exceptionally hard. You've definitely seen it snow harder in Green Bay and the Twin Cities area than you will with this storm. But it's how quickly it's going to accumulate. In some places, we'll see 2-inch-per-hour snowfall rates, 2 inches every 60 minutes. That's the kind of rate where road crews can't keep up, where highways become parking lots, where what looks like a dusting turns into 6 inches before you know what hit you. But here's what makes this storm particularly treacherous: the dramatic change in temperatures. We're going to start off as rain in Minneapolis, just regular rain, and then by the time we get to midnight tonight, we're dropping down into the 20s and teens, and we're going to have a flash freeze event after this. Think about what that means. Wet roads, puddles, standing water, and then suddenly within hours, all of that freezes solid. Black ice everywhere. The most dangerous driving conditions imaginable, and it happens so fast that even if road crews are out treating roads, they can't stay ahead of it. There are so many things about this storm that make it impactful outside of the snow, the ice, the winds, the flash freeze. This is a multi-hazard event, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Don't miss this next part, because the overnight hours bring a whole new set of problems to different areas. 2 a.m. tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, heavy snow hits Detroit. That might even cause some intermittent heavy snow in Cleveland. We're definitely going to have heavy snow in Toronto, Buffalo, and New York. Get ready for the heaviest snow, likely around 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's your Wednesday morning commute for anyone in these areas. You need to leave early, very early. Or better yet, work from home if you can. And then tomorrow afternoon and evening, we're going to see heavy snow across Pennsylvania, upstate New York, into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. This system is going to track right through the interior Northeast, bringing significant snow to areas that might not be expecting it. But then, and this is where it gets really interesting, the low-pressure system moves off to the east. And when that happens, our lake effect machines get turned on. We're going to have some decent bands coming off the lakes, especially in Michigan. And I think by the time this is all said and done, we'll have a couple places that have a very significant amount of snow in Michigan. Now here's something that's going to catch a lot of people off guard tomorrow afternoon and evening. We're going to see a snow squall outbreak in the Ohio Valley. Get ready for blinding snow squalls in Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, and especially West Virginia right up against those mountains. If you've never experienced a snow squall, let me explain what makes them so dangerous. One moment, you're driving in light snow, maybe even just cloudy conditions, and then suddenly, within seconds, visibility drops to zero. The snow comes down so hard and so fast, you can't see the hood of your car. Wind gusts hit 40 to 50 miles per hour. And just as quickly as it starts, it's over. 10 minutes later, you're back in light snow or clear conditions. But in those 10 minutes, that's when accidents happen. Multi-car pileups, vehicles going off the road, because people don't see it coming and they're driving too fast when it hits. Now, I want to remind you about something important regarding snow accumulations, because nobody is really going to get a ton of snow out of this system. In Michigan, there will be a couple places that end up with more than a foot thanks to lake effect. But most people are going to see 4 to 8 inches outside of the main swath. And in a lot of areas, we're talking about an inch or two. So if snow isn't the main story, what is? The winds. The winds are the main story here. And the wind speeds I'm about to tell you are going to shock you. This storm is so powerful that it will be bringing potentially hurricane-force wind gusts at times to the northern plains as the cold air comes in. Now, I think your average wind gust will probably be closer to 50 to 60 miles per hour, but there are a couple places that might get up to 70 mile per hour winds as that cold air comes rushing in behind the storm. And here's the number I promised you at the beginning. Last night in Montana, we saw a 101 mile per hour wind gust associated with this storm system. 101. That's stronger than most hurricanes at landfall. That's the kind of wind that flips semi-trucks. That tears roofs off buildings. That turns ordinary objects into deadly projectiles. Wednesday morning, we're looking at widespread 40 to 60 mile per hour winds in Iowa. And that strong wind is going to continue to dive south even into the Ohio Valley as a widespread 20 to 40 mile per hour wind gust system during those snow squalls we talked about. This is a really interesting and dynamic storm system about to dive into the upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and Northeast. And once again, the snow is not going to be the main story. Let me give you the specific accumulation numbers, because you need to know what to expect in your area. Northern Minnesota may get 6 inches of snow. That's not insignificant, but it's certainly not terribly significant either. A couple places in Wisconsin will also see 6 inches. The upper peninsula of Michigan will see a broad 4 to 8 inches of snow. Lower Michigan, we have a couple places that will likely see over 6 inches. And I think this doesn't include a lot of that lake effect snow in southern lower Michigan. There might even be a couple places that see significant snow out of this as well. In the interior Northeast, it's really hit or miss. A widespread 2 to 4 inches of snow is possible with a couple pockets where we see more than 6 inches, especially where we get that lake effect near Watertown. There are a couple pockets where 13 inches is possible. But now we come to what happens after the snow. And this is where the story gets truly frightening. Because what comes in behind this storm system is some of the coldest air we've seen all season. And it's not just cold for a day or two. This is a pattern flip. This is winter taking complete control of the eastern United States. Let me show you the actual surface temperatures as we go into the weekend, and I need you to pay very close attention to these numbers. As early as Thursday morning, we're going to be talking about bitter cold temperatures all the way down into Kentucky, where we're going to be in the mid-20s. That's without wind. Pennsylvania, you're looking at upper teens. Upstate New York, low teens down to 10 degrees. A lot of Michigan will be in the teens. And then Wisconsin and Minnesota, you're looking at -5. potentially -15 near Minneapolis early Thursday morning. And I want to remind you, that's without the wind. Remember, around this time, we're also going to be having 20 to 40 mile per hour winds on top of this. That's going to bring the wind chills down in some of these places to -50. -50-degree wind chill. At that temperature, exposed skin can freeze in less than 5 minutes. This is life-threatening cold Thursday morning. Not just uncomfortable, not just inconvenient. Life-threatening. Does it go away Friday? It actually gets a little bit better on Friday. You might think, okay, we made it through the worst. But check this out. Another big area of cold air is locked and loaded and is descending on the upper Midwest, the northern plains, and even the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region as we go into Sunday. Sunday morning, your actual surface temperature in northern portions of Minnesota might be -24 degrees. Let me say that again. -24. That is insanely cold. It could be -10 near Davenport, Iowa. It could be below zero in Indianapolis. And that's not the wind chill. That's the real actual temperature. The cold air is just going to continue to dip south. This is a pattern that we're going to be stuck in for a little while. Check this out. Below freezing temperatures, making it all the way down to the Gulf Coast Monday morning. The Gulf Coast? Areas that rarely see freezing temperatures are going to wake up Monday morning below 32 degrees. We are going to get a little bit of a break probably at the beginning of next week. But the overall cold pattern just continues to stick around. We cannot shake this pattern, especially for this part of the United States up north. And here's what makes this pattern flip so significant. This isn't a cold snap. This isn't a brief Arctic outbreak that lasts a few days. This is a fundamental shift in the atmospheric pattern. Winter has flipped the switch, and once that switch is flipped, it's very hard to flip it back. Now, while all of this is happening, while we're tracking this series of clippers in the northern and eastern United States and all this cold air, we're also dealing with a historic atmospheric river in the Pacific Northwest. And the word historic is not an exaggeration. We've got a ton of warm air getting funneled up against the Cascades in the western United States. This is causing a ton of flooding problems and some snow in the higher elevations. This morning, we've been dealing with water rescues already in Oregon as a result of the excessive rainfall. The bullseye is western Washington, Oregon, and the Idaho Panhandle. And this isn't just your standard winter rain. This is one of those rare and statistically historic storms that is going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. If you're not prepared yet, the worst of it is going to be hitting tonight into tomorrow. So, make sure you're ready. Mudslides are a huge problem. Avalanches are a huge problem. We're getting snowmelt at high elevations because the warm air is going higher than it normally does this time of year. On top of that, you add 4 to 8 inches of rain in some of these places, and it is just a complete mess in the Pacific Northwest. If you live near a river or a burn scar in the Pacific Northwest, have a go bag ready. Conditions can change rapidly, and rock slides are a very real danger right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Here's where we could see anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of rain. 4 to 10 inches. Think about that. Some areas could see almost a foot of rain. And this is happening in waves. We're in the thick of it right now. The heaviest precipitation will probably start to taper off Thursday afternoon, and then we should get a little bit of a break. But here's the concerning part. The pattern is going to continue locking into a classic winter configuration all the way through mid-December. It looks like we're going to stay cold in the east, warm in the west. No significant changes in the near future. Keep your jacket ready if you're in the east. Keep enjoying the warm temperatures if you're in the southwest. And unfortunately, as this ridge stays in place, we will see more atmospheric river events likely hitting the top of that ridge in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. This isn't a one-time event. This is going to keep happening. Now, we're also going to see a G3 geomagnetic storm hit Earth today into tonight. And the really unfortunate thing is, looking at the maps, pretty much everywhere where you could potentially see the aurora is going to be completely covered with clouds and rain. We're talking about Washington, Maine, maybe northern portions of Minnesota. These are the places where during a G3 storm, you might be able to see the auroras. But we're dealing with snow and cloud cover, so we probably won't have much of a viewing opportunity. But just know that there is going to be some space weather going on over the next 48 hours. Let me bring this all together for you, because we've covered a lot of ground and I want to make sure you understand the big picture here. We have 4 major weather events happening simultaneously. A quick-hitting winter storm with ice, snow, and hurricane-force winds, an Arctic blast that's bringing life-threatening cold, a historic atmospheric river causing flooding and mudslides, and a geomagnetic storm. But the real story isn't any one of these individual events. The real story is the pattern flip. Winter has taken control, and looking at the long-range models, this pattern is going to persist through at least mid-December. For the Midwest and Northeast, that means multiple rounds of cold air, multiple chances for snow, lake effect snow continuing. This is what a real winter pattern looks like. And we haven't seen a pattern this persistently cold and active this early in December in several years. For the West Coast, it means continued warmth inland, but repeated atmospheric river events along the coast. More rain, more flooding, more mudslides. The pattern is locked in. And here's what you need to do to prepare. If you're in the path of today's winter storm, do not travel this evening if you can avoid it. The combination of ice, snow, wind, and rapidly falling temperatures creates the most dangerous travel conditions we see all winter. If you must travel, leave early, slow down, increase your following distance, have an emergency kit in your car with blankets, water, snacks, and a way to charge your phone. If you're in the Midwest or Northern Plains, prepare for the extreme cold this weekend. Make sure you have multiple ways to heat your home. Stock up on essentials so you don't have to go out in negative 24-degree temperatures. Check on elderly neighbors. Bring pets inside. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, know your evacuation routes. Have that go bag ready. Monitor local emergency alerts. Don't drive through flooded areas. And if authorities tell you to evacuate, don't wait. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'd tell you about something at the 14-minute mark. And here it is. The temperature anomaly maps for the next 2 weeks show a persistent and significant cold pattern across the entire eastern half of the United States. We're talking 10 to 30 degrees below average for at least the next 10 to 14 days. That's not a cold snap, that's a pattern, and patterns are much harder to break than individual weather events. But here's what I haven't told you yet. And this is the part I'm saving for the next forecast. Because looking beyond mid-December, I'm seeing something in the models that could be even more significant than what we're dealing with right now. There are signals that this cold pattern could intensify even further, that we could see an even stronger Arctic outbreak around December 20th through Christmas. And if moisture times up right with that cold air, we could be looking at a significant winter storm for a large portion of the eastern United States right around the holidays. I'm not making predictions yet, it's too far out. But the pattern support is there. The cold air is definitely going to be in place. The question is whether we can get the moisture to line up at the right time. And here's why you should care about this now, even though it's almost 2 weeks away. Because if you're dealing with ice and snow this week, and then extreme cold this weekend, and then another major winter storm around Christmas, that's a compound problem. That's when infrastructure starts to fail. That's when power outages become more likely. That's when travel becomes nearly impossible. So, this forecast I just gave you, this is just chapter 1 of what's shaping up to be a very active December. The pattern flip has happened. Winter is here. And based on everything I'm seeing in the models, it's going to stay here for a while. Stay safe over the next 72 hours. This quick-hitting storm tonight, the extreme cold this weekend, these are serious threats that require serious preparation. Don't take chances. Don't assume you can just power through it. Respect the weather and make smart decisions. And make sure you check back for my next update, because that potential holiday storm I mentioned, if it develops the way some models are suggesting, it could be the biggest weather story of December. Multiple feet of snow for some areas. Widespread impacts for millions of people, right when everyone is trying to travel for the holidays. The next 2 weeks are going to be a wild ride across the eastern United States. Winter just flipped the switch, and there's no flipping it back anytime soon.